Welcome to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and today we're going to be talking about the environment in a way that you are probably not familiar with, because I'm not familiar with it myself. Joining me is Sitara Sastry, who is from Oakton High School, and Elaine Tholen, who is the director for, wait for it, the Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So,
Happy to be here.
Elaine, you actually wear a lot of hats besides just being the director. You have done so much with Nova Outside. We've done a show with Nova Outside before. Your whole career for the last 25 years has really been about the environment, education in our schools around the environment. That's a huge sort of subject to even try to start talking about. So I'm going to allow you to start talking about it.
Okay, it is a huge subject, and I'm just thrilled that I've been able to build this whole career for many years around the environment and tie in education. Two of the things I'm most passionate about, and because of that education background, that's how I ended up with this directorship with the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District. The district does a number of things, education being a big component of that.
So explain how that was established, because a lot of people are probably hearing that for the very first time.
Yes, so the easiest way to describe the soil and water conservation districts is that they were started by the U.S. Department of Agriculture after the Dust Bowl.
Oh, right.
So when we had that huge, environmental disaster, mainly,
it was man-made.
In agriculture.
It was
right?
man-made, yeah.
The United States government decided that we should have teams of people, basically like boots on the ground, if you will, in local areas to go out and work with our farmers and agricultural practitioners and make sure that they were using the best management practices possible to conserve soil and water. So the districts were set up all over the country. So for example, in Virginia, we have 47 soil and water conservation districts all throughout the state, so that there are people that are easily accessible with technical expertise and connections to work with private landowners. That's probably, if we talk about, well, how does that work here in Fairfax County, and how do we differ from the Fairfax County government, is that the Fairfax County government certainly has people with stormwater expertise and soil expertise, but they work on public properties. And
so you're talking about people who might build a building like, let's say in Tyson's Corner, and you want to talk about hard surfaces and stormwater runoff and permeable systems for draining water in an area that is mostly paved over.
Right, exactly. So a lot of that, those development questions, though, even though that would be private property, is dealt with by land development services in our county government. But for a homeowner, especially with all the rain that we've been having, and the flooding that we've been experiencing over the last couple of years, for homeowners, homeowners associations, churches, places like that, the Soil and Water Conservation District is. Those are your technical people to help you with some of those issues.
How is the elected position, like that's on the ballot here in 2019 for people who don't remember that this is an election year in Virginia across the entire Commonwealth, and one of the positions that you'll be asked to vote on is soil and water. How does that fit in with what you're doing or with this board?
So the Soil and Water Conservation District has 5 board members. And 2 of them are appointed. One is our horticultural agent, Adria Bordas. And across the state, the horticultural agent sits on the Conservation District Board to ensure sort of continuity of information between the University Extension Service and the Soil and Water Conservation Districts. Our chairperson is also appointed to keep some continuity,
right.
I think, of operations.
Institutional knowledge, too, very important.
And then we have 3 positions that are elected. So those 3 positions will be open during this election cycle. So people in Fairfax County will have the opportunity to vote for the 3 people that they would like to see on the board. So one of the things I like to talk to people about is, well, what kind of expertise should people have? What do these people do on the board? What do we do as directors? So, staff will present to us plans that they've put together to working with homeowners, or we have on our staff someone that is an expert in working with small farms and horse farms, and he's renowned and does that work in Fairfax County for more of these small farmers that we have people starting on small organic farms. What are the best practices that you would use in that situation? The directors need to be able to have the technical background to understand, what he's presenting and does it make sense, and what information do we need to gather to, approve some of those plans.
So let's talk a little bit about the next generation of people talking about institutional knowledge and carrying things forward. Sitara, you are actually part of a leadership program, and you've been in this leadership program for a year. Tell me a little bit about how you found out about it. What made you interested in doing this leadership program, and what have you gotten out of this?
I was looking for ways to be engaged in environmental knowledge and education, and so I found the Youth Conservation Leadership Institute, or YCLI, and it basically gave me the opportunity to pick any environmental project that interested me, and also how I could use that information and disseminate it to the public in a format that they can use for their own knowledge. And I picked my project on drinking water in schools, especially drinking water in Fairfax County Public Schools and my school, Oakton High School, because our high school is currently undergoing renovation.
Right.
And so students have expressed concerns about the water quality and whether it would be clean or not. And some students have actually seen some of the water firsthand. But through the investigation and using the platform of YCLI, I was able to go to Fairfax Water and see how the water gets to not only schools but also to houses, see how that water gets purified. And then I was also able to talk to people at my school and actually learn the difference between the heating and air conditioning system and the water system. So the water that people were concerned about was actually coming from a different system than the drinking water system. So this information was really important for people to know and understand. So I was able to write an article about it and put it on the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District website, and also present it at the George Mason Student Environmental Action Showcase.
And that Action Showcase, I believe, has been going strong for 9 years.
That's right.
Part of the
we'll
collaboration,
have our ninth one,
collaboration
in 2020.
With Nova Outside, which you were one of the founders of that.
Right.
And is the showcase sort of one of the marquee things that Nova Outside is doing annually?
Yeah, so we've been doing it annually. 2020 will be our 9th year, and it's really our signature event. We partner with George Mason University, so it's held in the Center for the Arts. We have a fabulous location. And what I just love about it is we bring, Sitara was there, she saw how many students we had, 700 to 800 students and their teachers and advisors together that are all students and teams of students involved and engaged in projects like Sitara was engaged in, where it's student-led, student driven, a place for students to voice their concerns about the environment, share information, network with each other. We also have about 40 different partner organizations that are there for the students to visit with, and learn about careers in the environment, and just talk to experts about how they can move their projects forward.
And you bring up something really interesting, and that's about careers in everything related to environment, not just environmental science, but environmental design. And there's been a lot of talk about the fact that your generation, and let's just call them Gen Z because I don't know what else to call collectively people your age, that climate issues are like the #1 issue of young people globally. Talk a little bit about what is driving you and are you going to make a career out of environmental science or something related to the environment?
I definitely want to pursue education in environmental science or environmental engineering to try and get out in the workforce and develop solutions for the problem that we face. And I think that a lot of young people are really interested in the environment because growing up with global warming and climate change, it's all the more real, and you realize that when we're older that it's only going to get worse, and that we're still young and we still have time to get educated and go out and learn about environmental science and environmental engineering, to go out and use that information to make a difference. And I think that that's why people are interested.
And since you're a senior, are you actually looking at different programs? And what kind of programs have you found in colleges that you are considering?
A lot of colleges have environmental science programs that they're focusing on, and actually a lot of colleges have water centers and water resources. So I think that they're finding some of the main issues in the environment and dedicating their resources towards that.
You know, doesn't it kind of blow your mind that, you know, we think about clean water issues being in third world countries. I'm a Rotarian, so we worry about clean water in Uganda, where there's a big, but we have a problem in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just don't think we are grappling as Americans with how serious problems that we think of as being related to third world countries are actually major problems here. I mean, how do your peers talk about that? Are they cognizant of the fact that we have homegrown enormous environmental problems here?
Yeah, I think after we found out about the Detroit public schools, everyone in my school at least was concerned, especially with the renovation, that what if our water isn't clean? What if we have another Flint-like situation here? What are our pipes made out of? Because our school is over 50 years old. And so those types of pipes and infrastructure was common back then. So I think a lot of people were concerned about that. But I think using the platform of like YCLI and those environmental organizations, you can uncover this information and share it with your peers.
And let's hear it for science, right? I mean, and I am always interested in young people and how they view things like environmental science, which didn't really, I'm sure it existed when I was in school, but not really. And now you've got young people, we talk about STEM a lot in jobs and careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. But it would seem like you were very representative of young people who are like, yes, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you, Sitara, for being here, and you, Elaine, are coming back in the next segment. But I want people at home to really investigate what we're talking about here. The Virginia Soil and Water Conservation Districts, and there is a Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District. And these things are important because the health of the Commonwealth of Virginia depends on it. And you said there were 47 districts?
47 districts in Virginia.
47 districts. Now, I always am telling you, because I need to know this myself, remind myself, we've got 95 counties and 40 independent cities in Virginia, over which is overlaid these 47 soil and water conservation districts. We are going to be talking with Elaine in the next segment, so please join us after the break.
Being a dad is an adventure full of special moments.
A cruise!
Surprise!
Unexpected moments.
I got this.
And even awkward moments.
Okay, Dad, thank you.
But every moment you spend with your kids, even the smallest moments, can make the biggest impact on your child's life. So take a moment to be a dad today.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Maria, so how's work?
It was fourth period biology. Our students just weren't getting how easily viruses spread. So Ms. Bell and I had them role play a zombie virus outbreak. By the time they had all learned the lesson, all the living were dead. Hey, how's your job going?
That big sales meeting I planned? Next year, I might get to go.
Cool.
Welcome back to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and today we are talking about the environment, specifically the Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District. And joining me is Elaine Tholen, who is the director. Thank you so much for being here, Elaine.
Thank you.
So, you've got some exciting things that are happening. Most people wouldn't necessarily go, exciting things happening in soil and water, but I'm sure exciting things happen every day.
So we're super excited. One thing I want to make sure people know about is we have a conservation assistance program for Virginia homeowners that are interested in implementing stormwater management practices on their property. And our deadline is coming up quickly.
Okay.
August 15th is the deadline to submit a request for one of our staff to visit your property and talk about potentially applying for some of the financial assistance.
Is that an annual deadline? Is there a window?
It is an annual program, and this deadline is for the upcoming year.
Okay, right.
So people should definitely, if they're interested, get a hold of the office, go to the website and get on the list.
And so what kind of things, if people's basements are flooding, if they've got flooding, standing water on their property, what kinds of things?
So a lot of times people will work on, if you've got standing water on your property, you might consider the installation of, conservation landscaping or something more technical like a rain garden, in order to alleviate some of that flooding.
Yeah, and so these are really kind of common sense. You're not talking about re-engineering, your property. You're basically talking about things that you could do that are fairly simple to implement if you know what you're doing.
Exactly. We have staff to give you some technical advice and expertise along the way. So that's what that initial visit request is for. Give us some idea of what it is that you're thinking about and does it make sense for you to pursue it further.
And so you've got a lot of educational things going on though as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So we've got great education programs for adults and for students. We have some programs coming up if people are interested in monitoring their own streams near their home for water quality. If people are interested in doing rain barrels, we have rain barrel workshops regularly. We have some workshops coming up for if people are interested in labeling this storm drains near their homes. But some of the things I'm most excited about is what we do for young people. So we just talked to Sitara about the Youth Conservation Leadership Program. And this year we had 3 students in Fairfax County participate. It's a state level program. And I'm proud to say that I'm chairing our statewide education committee, and we've just had great work going on across the Commonwealth. So we had this Youth Conservation Leadership program where students choose the projects and work on that through the year. We very exciting news this week. Our Envirothon team from Jamestown, so Williamsburg area, just won first place in the international competition.
Oh wow, international!
It was held in North Carolina. So they, from out of 53 teams, took first place in that.
Do you know the specifics of their project?
So everyone this year was looking at using technology in agriculture and how to promote agriculture and environmental practices using technology. So the Envirothon program is very popular here in Fairfax County too. We usually have 5 or 6 of our high schools that participate each year. Marshall High School the last 2 years has gone on to our state level competition, which is pretty exciting and a huge accomplishment.
So speaking of that, let's segue into the fact that in addition to the many hats you wear, and you are an educator, that's your background is education, you have stepped up to run for the school board this year. Again, reminding people 2019 is an election year in Virginia.
That's right.
And so every member of the school board is up for election, every seat. And you're actually representing the Dranesville district.
Correct.
And so, kind of what was the thought process when you decided that you wanted to step up because Janie Strauss for a long time represented the Dranesville School Board, and she decided not to run this time.
Correct. Yeah, so Janie Strauss is retiring, and as you mentioned, I've been in education and environment-related work for about 30 years. I've lived in Dranesville for 25 years. Public service has been a cornerstone of my, life and my career all along the way. So I also had the opportunity to work for Fairfax County Public Schools, so I have a lot of knowledge about the school district. As a parent, I had 2 boys that went all the way through the school district. A parent, a teacher, a program manager, a PTA officer. But most recently as a program manager, I worked with a group of principals and the science team and started up what we called the Get to Green program in Fairfax County, our environmental education and sustainability program. And what I'm most excited about with that program is not necessarily even that it was about the environment, but that we set that program up to be integrated across multiple disciplines, integrated with language programs, special education programs,
Wow.
Multiple subject areas, and that it's student driven. So we have lots of people like Sitara across the county, teams of kids that are looking at their community and looking for issues and looking for solutions and using data collection and solid data analysis to figure out what to do and initiate a plan and see if the plan's working. It's really project-based learning and STEM education at its best.
And for people who may not understand how unique that is, it really is to take something like Get to Green, right? And so you're taking lessons and basically weaving them in to many disciplines. And that might be English class and science class and a lot of other things, so that there are different aspects that students are studying about this. That takes a lot of coordination, and this is an enormous county. I mean, enormous.
It takes a lot of coordination across the instructional side, as you're pointing out, but even more than that, it takes so much coordination and collaboration because so many of the things the kids were involved in crossed into the facility side or food and nutrition, so energy conservation, projects, building gardens, looking at farm to table, putting produce on the food line. So I really know Fairfax County Public Schools and the organization, and I feel like being someone on the school board that not only am I really interested in making a difference, I know how to make a difference and how to advocate for any issues that will come up in the Dranesville area. I have a good idea who to reach out to in the school district to move things forward, and I also have built relationships across the county, across the region, across the state, and nationally in education and environment too. So have those connections as well. And some of the things I'm looking at with the school board is I really think we need more collaboration and work with our board of supervisors and other organizations in the county. So I'm happy to say I know a lot of those people and have very positive working relationships with them, because my work is always about integrity and collaboration. Those are my 2 big things.
And I think this is something that young people are interested in, not just older students like in high school, like Sitara, who's very aware of things like water quality issues, but younger kids. I've seen a lot of school gardens crop up. We have them in Fairfax City. There's a move for solar panels. Mm-hmm. There was a movement, I think, I don't want to say this out of turn, but it seems to me that maybe Marshall High School had the first salad bar using local produce, They may not have been the first, but it seems to me I remember Ryan McElveen's photos from that. Mm-hmm. But just this idea that you should have fresh fruits and vegetables in your cafeteria, but it should also support local producers of products. And again, the solar panels, young people being involved. And to your point, when things are student-led,
right,
it teaches them so much more than just instructing them or them being on the receiving end of instruction. You're actually giving them an opportunity to decide what matters, how you would accomplish it, what is involved in accomplishing it.
Exactly, and we're also getting them involved civically as well. So, okay, if you identify an issue or a problem, how do you move that forward, and who do you talk to maybe get a new regulation? Or
and that reminds me, this just pops into my head, things do, that I think it was Ken Plum who said that a student came to him about phosphates in detergents, saying that the phosphates were hurting the environment and they should pass something that banned phosphates as an additive. I'm pretty sure that Ken tells that story, that it was a student who brought him that.
Yeah, we've got several legislators that have student-led legislation that they're looking at, which is what I find so exciting.
I do too, and I think you're right. And that's just another lesson that you teach school children is that this is how your democracy works, this is how public policy is made. And if you identify a problem that needs to be fixed, these are the different avenues. And it might be your school board, it might be your board of supervisors, it might be your delegate or senator.
Exactly.
Because all of these people might have some part in what it is you've identified as a problem. Civically engaged is huge to me.
Yeah.
Huge to me.
I'm all about the students and giving them voice and power.
And again, this is an off year election. I can't say it often enough that, you know, Virginia has elections every year. It's a 4-year cycle, and this is the 4th year in the cycle without us having a governor, a president, a congressional, you know, without a U.S. senator. So it's an off year election. Historically, it is the lowest voter turnout of any year. And the voter turnout's about 30%. So 30% of voters in Virginia will decide the largest number of elected officials.
That's right.
And in school board, people need to care about school board because, again, even if you don't have children in school, the reputation of those schools impact the value of things like your home, which I think a lot of people are not necessarily connecting those dots. But again, being a member of the school board, those are some of the things that you have to tackle too, are boundaries and how boundaries are drawn. And that's one of the most tense conversations.
That is a big topic of conversation in Dranesville. You know, we have school capacity and boundary issues that we're talking about. I'm, you know, looking forward to working on those. You know, for my, you know, Great Falls residents, just assuring them that, you know, or anyone going to Langley High School, you know, Langley High School is currently under-enrolled, so I have absolutely no interest in moving any students out of Langley High School. So definitely behind that. McLean High School, on the other hand, is very overcrowded. So I really need to, you know, dig in and look at creative solutions in the short term and in the long term for McLean High School to take care of some of that overcrowding. We have overcrowded elementary schools. So that's going to be a big topic of conversation, and, you know, excited to work on that.
And that's what the job is. It's hard. And I know from my friends who are school board members that it is an enormous job. It takes a lot of focus because there's a lot of people with differing and competing interests that have to be, and they feel like they need to be heard and seen, and their issues taken seriously. But it's a large county. So yeah, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is implementing some creative solutions for communication and transparency, and just, you know, making sure my constituents know they're being heard. I think that's important. And so for people who want to know more about you, they can go to ElaineTholen.com, and that's your background, your history, and this for you at home is what you need to know.